Base your own opinion. Thank you.
As you can see behind me, there's the Richland County Courthouse and the Wahpeton, North Dakota Police Department. I saw K-9 Unit Officer Dustin Hill standing outside the department, so I turned around and was going to ask him a question about unwarranted raids. When I was standing on the public street filming him, he asked if I needed help. I proceeded to tell him I was simply filming a story. That's when he told me I was under arrest for hindering and put my hands behind my back, handcuffing me, bringing me into the station where I was interrogated for over a half hour. I was then released after doing nothing illegal.
I jogged over to the department. I was going to wait for Mr. Hill's comment without interrupting him. I began filming on a public street. That's when this happened.
What are you doing?
Excellent.
What can I do for you?
Nothing. I'm just covering a story for MinnesotaChange.org about unwarranted raids in Wahpeton, so.
You're under arrest for interference with a police investigation. Put your hands behind your back.
Everything was going fine until I mentioned my story was about unwarranted raids. Dustin Hill quickly snapped his head and turned to the defensive.
Nothing. I'm just covering a story for MinnesotaChange.org about unwarranted raids in Wahpeton, so.
You're under arrest for interference with a police investigation. Put your hands behind your back.
I was just standing outside the Wahpeton, North Dakota Police Department, filming an officer who practices unwarranted raids when he came up and arrested me unlawfully, handcuffed me, and I was detained, interrogated, and harassed by one of the officers. After being arrested, Officer Dustin Hill had 3 other officers escort me into the police department and place me in an interview room, where one officer came in and told me he was Dustin Hill's supervisor and asked me where I felt I had the right to film Dustin Hill. I told him that North Dakota law, United States law, and the First Amendment of the United States Constitution gives me every right to film anybody in public. He then left. They left me there, handcuffed, for nearly an hour. He then returned and told me to stand up, remove my handcuffs, told me to grab my camera and leave. He told me that I needed to understand that I pissed Dustin Hill off. There was no police investigation going on. Dustin Hill was talking to a citizen. He arrested me unlawfully. I was detained unlawfully. I'm 17 years old. My parents were not notified, which is also illegal, and I was never even read my Miranda rights. I would appreciate it if anyone would call and voice their concerns to the Wahpeton Police Department, because this is tyranny, this is a police state, this will not be tolerated. An officer cannot arrest anyone for no reason and then release them later and think that's okay, because it's not. So let's let our voices be heard. This is Robert Wanek reporting for MNChange.org.
No charges were filed against me. I was detained to send a message that a badge warrants authoritarian power and that pissing an officer off is unacceptable. The Chief of Police, in his statement, encourages questions, so please call the department and ask him why Dustin Hill is allowed to disregard the law.
Base your own opinion. Thank you.